Dr. R. Sugurat Samuel is working as professor in physics in SRM University, Chennai. He is also training students for IIT JEE, AIEEE, and BITSAT. He has more than 16 years of academic experience both in teaching and research. He has published a book titled The Complete Handbook of Bachelor of Electronic Science Practicals. It is prescribed book in the syllabus for BSc Electronic Science by University of Madras. He has attended and presented papers in several national and international conferences and conducted many training programs and workshops. He has experience in both regular classroom teaching and also online teaching. His research areas are ultrasonics, polymers, crystal growth, and photovoltaic systems.
Welcome to UGC lecture series on Applied Sciences Electronics. We have been listening to a series of lectures on the syllabus Electricity and Basic Electronics. In the last lecture, we have seen the expressions for magnetic field produced by a straight current carrying conductor and also a circular loop, and we have found the direction of magnetic field in the two cases, and also how the magnetic field produced by these two shapes could be measured using other tools. And in continuation to that, in this lecture we are going to see some application part of it. We have also seen in the last lecture the force experienced by a charge that is kept in magnetic field, and also a wire that is kept in external magnetic field. And there are some other shapes for which also the force experienced by those conductors are very important, and those concepts we are going to see in this lecture. Along with that, we are going to see some other concepts related to magnetism, especially the definition for ampere. And let us see today's session summary. In this session, we are going to see torque experienced by a current carrying loop, force on a charge due to the electric field and also magnetic field simultaneously, force between two parallel current carrying conductors, and finally the definition for ampere and permeability. In the last lecture, we have seen a current carrying wire could experience a force in a particular direction. Instead of a single wire, if we have a loop containing a steady current, what sort of force it would experience? It is slightly beyond our scope as far as this syllabus is concerned, but even then we should discuss a small part of that, so that at a later stage, whenever the necessity comes, we will be able to recall the concepts we have learnt under this particular section. So, if it is a loop, what sort of force would experience at every part of the loop? Let us have a quick look at the diagram. This colored, the orange colored rectangular shape is representing a current carrying loop. The current is flowing here in this direction, it is shown by this arrow mark, and the magnetic field is randomly shown here, it is existing in this direction, it is represented by the blue arrow. So, at every section there are 4 straight sections for this rectangular loop. At each section the force is experienced in a particular direction as per the right hand rule. So, section 1 the force is experienced upwards. In the section 2 the force is experienced this way sidewise, and in this section also it is sidewise, and in this section it is downwards. When we carefully look at this diagram, as a net force, the entire rectangular loop, if we take the force F2 and F4 would cancel each other because they are opposite to each other, they are equal in value, and thus they would cancel, it will not have any effect on the loop. But on the other hand, the F1 and F3 when we take, though they are opposite in direction, they are at a distance from the reference point that we have. So, this kind of two opposite forces separated by a distance would definitely cause a couple on the loop. So, this will cause a resultant torque couple on the loop. So, what is the expression for this torque or for the couple? We can take the force on each section and we can do a little bit of mathematical simplification on that with the help of the concepts we have already in mechanics. For the expression for torque, it is force multiplied by perpendicular distance, and when we take those kind of steps, when we take the simplifications, we will finally end up with one final expression that is shown in this picture. The torque is represented normally by the symbol tau is number of turns n, b, I, a and sin theta. Here b is magnetic field, I is current, and a is the area of the loop, and n is number of turns the loop contains. And then this sin theta is the angle between the magnetic field and this IA. Here NIA is one particular quantity called magnetic moment of the coil. So, it is a vector quantity, and the torque is shown here. Because of this torque, the loop would undergo a kind of turn, twisting motion will happen. And where do we find its application? This torque depends on the current, the magnetic field, the geometry, especially the area, and also the orientation. Because the torque depends on the current, this principle could be used for even measuring the current. The magnitude of current can be measured using this principle. That is what is done in galvanometer. The application is found in the form of galvanometer. The galvanometer, the amount of deflection the coil undergoes gives the value of current. So, when we take up the magnetism concept as a separate subject in an exhaustive study, in that we will learn the principle and working of galvanometer, but here we just make a mention of it. And the next concept what we should know is, suppose if the magnetic field and also the electric field simultaneously exist in a particular place, then what sort of force would act on the charged particle which is in motion? If the charge is not moving, then the magnetic field will not have any effect on it, but if the charge is moving in the presence of magnetic field and electric field simultaneously, what sort of effect would happen on the charge? Let us have a quick look at it. So, force on a charge due to the electric field and magnetic field which is existing simultaneously. So, the resultant force would be this summation, vector summation. It is QE is the force due to electric field and Q V cross B is the force due to the magnetic field. There are some occasions in which these two forces could be made to cancel each other. So, in that case, when we have a particular value of velocity, then it is possible to cancel even the force which is due to magnetic field by the force due to electric field and vice versa. And in those conditions, when the two forces cancel each other, there might be a particular velocity for a particular charge. So, that principle could be used to choose a particle which has got a particular velocity. So, that is called a velocity selector. In the case of velocity selector, the two forces are made to cancel each other by adjusting the magnitudes of magnetic and electric fields, and then the charges are made to pass through a particular region. So, if they do not get deflected, so it will have particular value of velocity, and also they have application in other instruments. Let us have a quick look at it. The one I have already mentioned, it is velocity selector, and another principle is Hall effect. It is also a combination of electric and magnetic field that produces an effect on a current carrying conductor. And again mass spectrometer, based on the atomic mass we can separate the isotopes. In that case also the cancellation of electrostatic force by the magnetic force is very much used. So, what we study here, they have direct application in several instruments. And now let us move on to another topic called force between two parallel wires. We have already learnt a current carrying wire would produce magnetic field around it. When we keep another current carrying conductor near the field or near the conductor where it has its own field, then the two would affect each other. One conductor produces magnetic field around it. If another conductor is placed in that magnetic field, definitely the second conductor would also experience a force, because the first conductor's magnetic field will be an external magnetic field for the second conductor, and vice versa. The reverse also would happen. If the second conductor is having current, that also would produce magnetic field around it. So, that would affect the first conductor which is also carrying current. So, let us see what that has to do with the definition of ampere. So, before we move on to the definition of ampere, let us try to establish the force between two parallel current carrying conductors. So, that is shown as a diagram here. Let us consider two parallel wires carrying current I1 and I2 separated by a distance A. So, this is schematically shown. This conductor is conductor 1, this is conductor 2, and this first conductor would produce magnetic field around it. The second conductor also would produce magnetic field around it, because they carry individual currents. There is no connection, electrical connection between the two wires. The first wire is carrying a current I1 given by an external circuit. Second conductor is also carrying current I2 given by a separate circuit, and for our study we take a particular length L. Let us see what sort of force is going to exist between these two parallel wires. So, to understand the way in which the force act on them, let us take a very simplified diagram of the previous picture. For clear understanding, let us take this view. So, the first conductor is represented as a conductor AB through which the current I1 flows. The second conductor 2 is represented as CD through which the current I2 is flowing. Now, around this I1 there will be a magnetic field which is circular around it. That concept we have already learnt in the previous lectures. And similarly, around this conductor CD will also be a magnetic field. It will also produce its own magnetic field. That magnetic field will be circular around it. Now, let us forget about the magnetic field produced by CD and take the magnetic field produced only by AB. In its magnetic field, the second conductor is placed. Let us take only that case. In that case, second conductor's magnetic field is B2. The B2 will be coming out here because it is circular in this way. So, in the region where the first conductor is kept, the magnetic field will be coming out. So, according to the right hand rule, the current is in this direction, the magnetic field is in this direction, and the force will be towards the right. So, that force is existing on the wire AB. So, now we have taken one case in which the wire AB conducts current and it produces magnetic field. In that field, the second conductor is kept. So, the first conductor experiences a force. The second conductor is producing a magnetic field B2. So, due to B2, what is the magnetic field? So, we can develop the expressions for this and try to see what will be the force on each other. We will continue the lecture after a small break. Welcome back after the break. Let us continue with the expression. Let us have a look at the diagram. So, as I have already shown, the force experienced by the first conductor is to the right. So, what is the expression for it? So, B2 is the magnetic field produced by the second conductor, and because of that the first conductor experiences this force. This expression we have learnt in the last episode of this series, and from this we get this expression. In the same way, the first conductor produces magnetic field which is around it existing in the circular way. So, that exists in this region inwards for the second conductor. So, B1 is the magnetic field produced by the first conductor, the second conductor experiences this force. So, when we substitute this B1 here, so this is the expression we get for the conductor 2. So, both the conductors, this is for the conductor 2, this is for the conductor 1. So, both the conductors experience the same force when we look at the two expressions. So, the force experienced by the two conductors very much depend on the currents I1 and I2. It is not that when current on one is greater then the force on that is greater, it is not so, because the product I1 and I2 both exist together, it is mutual, the force is the same force is existing on the two conductors. Now, direction we need to take into account. Let us take another picture and try to understand what is the direction of the force. So, when we look at the force, in this case it is attractive force. The wire AB is experiencing force to the right. Similarly, CD is also experiencing force to the left. So, it is a mutual force, they attract each other. Hence, the two parallel wires carrying currents in the same direction attract each other. What will happen if the currents are in the opposite direction? So, once again we have to draw the diagrams and consider the direction of force. When we meticulously do that, and we will be able to find out the two forces are again opposite to each other, but it will not be attracting each other, it will be away from each other. So, we conclude the two conductors carrying current in opposite direction repel each other. If they carry currents in the opposite direction, they repel each other. So, whatever be the case, there is a kind of mutual force existing between two parallel current carrying wires. If the current is in the same direction, they attract each other. If the current is opposite to each other, the direction of force is opposite. So, it is repelling, they both will repel each other. Now, what would be the expression, what would be the value of the force? We have got the expression. When we plug in the values for the current I1 and I2 and mu naught, and for the constants and also for the length and for the distance of separation, we will be able to arrive at a value. Let us have a look at the value. The force between two parallel wires carrying current on a segmental length L is given by this expression. Now, we further simplify this, we bring this L to the denominator. Here L is the length of the wire, we do not have any restriction on the length of the wire. So, that is why we bring it to the left hand side and call this term as force per unit length of the wire, and A is the distance of separation between them. I1 and I2 are the two currents in the respective wires. Mu naught is permeability of free space, and 2 pi comes because it exists as a constant even in the Biot-Savart law. Now, for the definition of ampere, let us take the I1 value as I1 value and I2 value equal to 1 ampere, and the distance of separation is also 1 meter. So, these terms I1, I2 and A, they become 1. So, we are left with only these constant terms. We know the value of mu naught is 4 pi into 10 to the power minus 7. So, when we plug in these values, we get 2 into 10 to the power minus 7 Newton per meter. So, this is the force per unit length. The above conditions lead to the following definition for ampere. So, with this value, now we can define what is 1 ampere. This definition is used even in SI system of units. So, let us see what is the definition for 1 ampere based on the force experienced by two parallel current carrying wires. When the magnitude of the force per unit length between two long parallel wires that carry identical currents and are separated by 1 meter is 2 into 10 to the power minus 7 Newton per meter. The current in each wire is defined to be 1 ampere. This is accepted as the international system of units for current. So, this is the definition for ampere. And what are the other definitions we have for ampere? This is accepted by SI unit of system, and the other definition is based on Faraday's law of electrolysis. It is based on the amount of material that is getting deposited in a electrolysis process. So, normally it will be silver nitrate, or sometimes you can use copper sulphate solution also. So, based on the amount of the material that is deposited on an electrode, also we can define ampere. Not only this, we have several ways by which we can define 1 ampere, but in spite of all that, this definition, the force experienced between two parallel wires, this definition is taken as a SI system of units. And once we define what is 1 ampere, we can also take it further to define the permeability value and even for Coulomb. Let us have a look at the way in which a permeability is defined. The definition of permeability, it is sometimes referred as vacuum permeability, because vacuum also has got magnetic property or permeability of free space is derived from the production of magnetic field by an electric current or by a moving electric charge, and in all other formula the magnetic field production in a vacuum. So, it is represented as mu naught. It has got an exact value as 4 pi into 10 to the power minus 7 watt second per ampere meter, and when you substitute this value, this is the typical value, and it is having another simple unit, Henry per meter or Newton per ampere square, and some other units, Weber per ampere meter. These are all accepted as SI system of units for permeability. So, using the force that is existing between two parallel current carrying wires, we can even define lots of other magnetic quantities permeability. And how do we define 1 Coulomb? Because once the current is defined using magnetism, we can even go further and try to define the Coulomb also, because if 1 Coulomb passes through a given cross sectional area in 1 second, then the current is said to be 1 ampere. So, we can rewrite the same definition for defining Coulomb also. Let us quickly have a look at it, how a Coulomb could be defined. Once the current is defined using magnetism, Coulomb also could be defined using magnetism. The SI unit of charge is Coulomb, is defined in terms of the ampere which just now we have defined. When a conductor carries a steady current of 1 ampere, the quantity of charge that flows through a cross section of a conductor, any cross section of a conductor in 1 second is 1 Coulomb. The same can be defined in terms of force between two current carrying wires. And the measurement part of it, how do we measure the force? So, we need to design a particular device or an apparatus in which we could be able to comfortably measure the force. But for measuring force, we should not use any other means. The force could be probably measured using gravitational force. So, if you are able to design an apparatus in which the force is measured in terms of gravitational force, maybe mass multiplied by acceleration due to gravity g mg. So, if you use these kind of absolute quantities, then we can have an absolute meter. If we use an absolute meter for measuring the force, then we can even measure 1 ampere comfortably by measuring the force. So, that device is called Ampere's balance. In Ampere's balance, we make use of the force that is existing between two parallel wires, maybe in a slightly modified way, to measure the force and thus to measure the current in a particular current carrying wire, for which we need to have one standard value of current and the other wire could have any current passing through it, and thus by comparing the force we will be able to measure the unknown current. And when we look at the way in which these discussions are done, we can also measure the current using a sophisticated device called galvanometer. In the galvanometer, how do we measure current? We measure the current by measuring the amount of deflection the coil undergoes, because in the beginning of this lecture we have learnt a current carrying loop would experience a torque in a magnetic field. So, when it experiences torque, there will be a kind of deflection. That deflection should be counteracted by the torque produced by a spring. So, we can equate the electrical or magnetic torque with the mechanical torque, and thus we can arrive at a particular expression for current I. That is one way of measuring the current, but in the ampere balance we will not use the torque principle, but we will use the concept of force that is existing between two parallel current carrying wires, and once we measure the force we will be able to take it forward and equate that for finding the value of current. So, let us now quickly see what we have learned today by looking at the summary. In this session, we have seen the torque experienced by a current carrying loop and the area in which this principle is used in especially the devices, and also the force on a charge due to electric and magnetic field simultaneously, and the devices in which this concept is used, and again the force between two parallel current carrying conductors, and using this as the principle, the definition for ampere and even the permeability. So, this discussion forms the base for the next lecture, in which we are going to see the ampere balance, but we will not directly take the parallel wires. As I said, we will be able to take a modified wire, maybe a coil kind of shape, so that the calculations are done effectively, and we will wind up this session by answering these following questions to test our understanding. What is a velocity selector? What is the principle of galvanometer? Derive the expression for force between two current carrying wires. Define 1 ampere. Define permeability of free space. Define 1 coulomb. So, with this we conclude this lecture. We will see the application part of this in amperes balance in the next lecture. Thank you.